Hey, Donovan Keith here, and in this video I want to show you how you can use scene nodes in Cinema 4D to create a procedural golf ball, one that allows you to adjust the radius, the number of segments, and the strength of the divots. You might even create sort of an inverted golf ball, if you will. And we can adjust the overall smoothness as well with a subdivision surface iterations option. So I'm going to walk through the general premise of how this one is working, and then we'll recreate it from scratch. So the first thing that we see here is the sphere node, which creates a sphere object, and it is currently set to type icosahedron, so that if I turn on my garage shaded lines, you'll see that it's a series of roughly evenly distributed triangles. And then we're going to take advantage of this in order to create what's called a dual mesh of these. So the opposite of what we see, which we can try and simulate here just by doing a little bit of painting. So I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to paint sort of the structure of a dual mesh over top here. So we've got this point right here. These points exist right here. Now, what we can do is we can subdivide each of these edges, and for this point right here, the dual mesh looks like a hexagon, and this sort of stuff, this intermediate stuff, sort of goes away. So doing this creates something that looks like this. So we've converted all of those points to a series of hexagons. I'm then taking these hexagons and I am insetting them to create slightly harder ridges. You can sort of see the faceting here. And then I'm using the Poke Polygons node to add a point in the middle of all of these and inset them. And then I am subdividing those with a smooth subdivision surface in order to create a golf ball-like shape. So let's go ahead and build this from scratch. If you haven't already, go ahead and create a new project file. And just to let you know, I'm recording this in Cinema 4D 2024.5.1. Things may have changed in the version that you're in. And if you're not in this version, you might want to upgrade. All right, let's go ahead and create a nodes mesh to start. So I'm going to hit Shift-C to search. I'm going to search for nodes, and I'm going to drag in my nodes mesh. I'm going to now call this golf ball. And I'm going to add a sphere. So I'm double-clicking in here, and I'm searching for a sphere. I'm going to connect my sphere to the output here by dragging the wire, or by tapping the Q key on my keyboard to quickly connect my connected node to the output. Next up, I'm going to turn on garage shading lines. And I'm going to do this so that I can see the polygon structure of my object. Now, the standard is a perfectly fine polygon arrangement if you're trying to make not a golf ball, but we're trying to make a golf ball, so I want to choose icosahedron. And this again gives me that sort of uniform distribution of points. Now, what I want to do is calculate the dual of this mesh, so the sort of the dual graph. And in order to do that, again, what we're effectively doing is for every single edge, for every single point, we are going to come in here and split them all in half, basically. And then we are going to take these sort of halfway marks. I guess I missed one here. And then we are going to be connecting those together. And once we've got them, we're going to go in and we are going to erase or remove these interior portions. Now, there's a command that we can use to very easily get all of these extra edges, and that is the subdivide command. So I'm going to double-click inside of here. I'm going to search for subdivide, and I'm going to drag subdivide right next to my sphere. And what you'll see is that we now have something that looks a lot more like that sort of hexagonal structure that we want, but we've got a bunch of points that are not really helping us out, a bunch of points and edges. And if I go back here, I see that it's really the original edges that are sort of messing up my view. So what I want to do is I want to grab a selection for those initial edges before I do my subdivision. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to search for select. I'm going to grab the select node, drag it onto this wire, and I want to select my edges, and I'm going to type in all for select all edges. And it might be helpful to type in select all edges, just so I know what's going on here. And if you want, or rather, what we're going to do next is we're going to dissolve those edges, or get rid of them. So I'm going to double click in here, search for dissolve, drag that on, and by default, it sort of has dissolved all of my polygons, which is not what I want. So I'm going to click on edges here, and I'm going to type in active. And this is going to explicitly grab my active edges and inset them. Now, I want to add some divots here, so I'm going to type in poke polygons, drag this onto my wire, and now I've got it sort of looks like what we just had, but this gives me an option to grab these points and inset them. And now if I add in a subdivide, I can smooth this out. Now, I want to smooth out not just some of them, but all of my polygons, and I want to smooth them. Now, when I smooth twice, and I look to my garage setting view, this sort of looks like a golf ball, but it sort of doesn't. What I'm missing are slightly tighter shapes and something a bit more circular. And the reason we're not getting that is really sort of to do with our polygon structure. These polygons, as well as the poked versions, they're all sort of equally important, and I want to draw greater importance around the sort of the perimeter of these shapes. And I can do that by insetting my polygons, and that's going to add a loop of edges around the center of each of these ingons. So now I'm going to add an inset node. I'm going to drag it onto the wire right here, and let's just take a look at the output of this. So now I've got an inset. I'm going to choose to do this to all of my polygons. And I can adjust the amount of insetting, and that's going to control how tight this gets. And when I push out my subdivide at the end, if I take a look at this in garage shaded view, this is looking a little bit funky. Let's adjust our inset. And what's now happening is, if I look at my poke polygons, it's actually poking all of my polygons, including these new ones around the perimeter. So I need to adjust my selection so that after my inset, the only polygons that are going to get poked are the ones in the center. And the trick that I can do is to pre-select all of the polygons here before I do my inset. So right here, I'm going to do a select. I'm going to type in all to select all polygons. Look at my inset, and then I'm going to look at my poking. And now we see that it is poking just these center polygons, not the perimeter polygons. So now when I subdivide, it is starting to look a lot more like what I'm expecting. And I can tighten up the perimeter here by adjusting my inset, just sort of reducing the amount there. I can reduce the amount of my poke. And I can adjust how smooth this is with these subdivision settings. Now this is all looking pretty good, but I'd say that I need to dial it in a little bit more. So my sphere, I can increase my segments, I think, to 30. Gives me something that feels a bit more like a golf ball. And my poke here, I can adjust. I'm holding down the Alt or Option key on my keyboard to sort of adjust just how indented this is feeling. And my inset, again, I can decrease or increase this to sort of soften these divots. Now, I'm going to leave it as an exercise to you if you want to expose additional parameters on your golf ball, or you can just sort of like pre-dial in all these settings and get something good and make it editable. So there you go. That is how you can build a procedural golf ball using scene nodes in Cinema 4D. Thanks so much. And if you make something with this, if you reproduce it or make something similar or different, I'd love to see what you create. Please drop a link. And if you have any questions, please ask in the video. Thanks. Bye-bye.